Booyah!
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here today for another TF2 comparison, and yes, today I will be covering the soldier rocket launchers. Yes, there is a lot of them, there's a lot of them to go over, so as a result, I am not going to go over the default, because everyone knows the default is probably the best. Like, let's face it, compared to all these guns I'm about to go over, it's most likely the best. Like, it all around is the best, and as well as that, I'm not going to go over the rocket jumper, because the rocket jump doesn't do damage. Why would you go over the rocket jumper? God, guys. Well, like, seriously, the rocket jumper doesn't do damage, and the rocket launcher is a default and attempted to go against, so therefore, neither of them will be compared in this comparison. Sorry, guys. Anyway, first rocket launcher in question is the direct hit. Now, the direct hit is probably one of my favorites to use because it has a similar sort of thing to the lock and load. Basically, it's very much, if you miss him, you get nothing. If you hit him, you get everything because the guy just dies immediately, especially scouts. Like, it does 140 damage base usually because it has a plus 25% damage bonus. It's also 80% faster than the normal rocket launcher, so most pyros can't deflect it. Of course, I've met pyros before that easily can deflect it because people are good at this game. And the coolest aspect of this thing, by most far, is basically that mini crits are launched whenever they're in the air. Now, to some that sounds like nothing, but this weapon is basically an airshot weapon. Basically, this weapon is actually a really good introduction into how to airshot. Now, of course, airshotting with a normal rocket launcher is much harder, takes a lot more deliberation, but the direct hit very much makes you feel like you're a lot better with this game because you can direct hit into the air with it, which is why it's called a direct hit. Its only drawback is the minus 70% explosion radius, which means there's no real splash damage. You either get them or you don't. There's no real middle ground. You either get 140 damage on them, get crazy damage, or you don't. As a result, its main drawback for me is that I always feel slightly vulnerable if I ever miss. Because if I miss one or two rockets, they probably have me dead because I can't exactly hit them. So I usually keep a shotgun as my secondary just in case I run out of clips and I'm screwed. I'll just pop it out and try and shoot them. Overall, it's a great weapon, especially if you can hit shit, but it leaves people very subconscious if they can't hit shit. But it is a great weapon overall, and it is very much recommended on my side. Next up is the Beggar's Bazooka. The Beggar's Bazooka has always been quite a weird weapon to me because it's a very different weapon. It's actually one of the most unique weapons they've made for the soldier, with only a slight difference. Basically, the only main difference with the Beggar's Bazooka is that instead of firing them normally, you have 0 in your clip, and you load up 1, and you load up 3 at once and fire them all off at once. Now, to a newer player, it sounds incredible. It sounds like an amazing weapon that you need to fucking use, and it's worth all of your time. But, I say with experience, it is a lot harder and a lot more irritating to use than it seems. For example, rocket jumping is very fucking difficult, as is actually keeping control of your rockets while you're in a massive firefight with loads of people. Of course, when there's like 3 or 4 in front of you in one small choke point, very easy. But when there's like massive amounts of people all around you, eventually you won't be able to turn around and get all of them because the spread doesn't go far enough when you fire all 3. Of course, it's very good if you're not able to aim with the rocket launcher, you're just like firing everything off at once. In fairness, if you like doing that, then you probably love this weapon. But you won't like this weapon if you like to have precision in your aiming. It is horrible when precision is involved in your aiming. It is one of the worst weapons in the game for precision. It's just shoot everything, hope something hits. That's how this weapon works. Now, the Liberty Launcher to me has always been an interesting weapon. Most people don't like it because of the minus 25% damage penalty, which is a massive drawback. It really does make the rocket launcher a far weaker weapon, and most other rocket launchers are far better because the damage penalty isn't taken into account. But honestly, this weapon is just a bit of fun to be messing around with. I wouldn't recommend it in any sort of competitive play if you want to take it seriously, but it very much is a fun thing to do, especially if you have a pocket medic on you with Kritzkrieg, because let's face it, if you have a pocket medic with Kritzkrieg on you, you won't want gunbows. You'll want a shotgun. So honestly, that with the reserve shooter works very well in conjunction because, or just a regular shotgun, because it's a minus 25% blast damage from rocket jumps. So it's not exactly detrimental to rocket jump with this thing like it is with other rocket launchers without the gunboats, because you lose like 40 to 60 damage depending on fall damage with other rocket launchers. This can usually cap down to 30 or 40, which, although it doesn't seem like that much less, it really does make the difference in battle. And the plus 40% projectile speed is nice. It isn't exactly a game changer, but it's nice. It's pretty cool. Like, it doesn't have the massive damage boost like the direct hit does, so I don't see it as a really huge bonus. But really, honestly, I recommend this thing in situations where you have a pocket medic on you, because it's pretty much perfect with a pocket medic on you, especially with the crit squeak. Because this thing, with its plus 40% projectile speed, actually is very, very good when it's critted, believe it or not. Next up is the Cow Mangler, or the laser shooty gun, that I just don't like that much. I'll be honest, it is my least favorite primary weapon. It's not a bad primary weapon, not by a long shot, I just don't like it that much. Maybe it's the projectile, maybe it's the fact that if you get hit by the rocket when it's alternate fired, you get fire damage on yourself. Like, really, the rocket jumps for it are fine, not a big deal. In fact, I think they were a lot more awkward before they were buffed a little bit, but now they're fine. It doesn't require ammo, which means it's an ecological weapon, as well as that, it's very controlled. You very much know what you're doing. It isn't as sporadic as the Beggar's Bazooka. You know what you're doing, because there's an alternate fire that stops sentries, firstly, and secondly, that does random critical hits. Now, of course, there's very much a tactic involved with this weapon. That, do you shoot them 3 or 4 times and kill them, or do you charge up a shot and try and go for a crit hit? See, the thing is, there's a lot more pressure on that last shot if you go for a crit hit, but really, it's not a big deal. The big deal breaker for this weapon, the one that makes me dislike it the most, is the fact that it is completely useless against engineers. The fact that it only does 20% damage to buildings is kind of ridiculous. Fine for dispensers and teleporters, it's not a big deal. For sentries, it's a deal breaker. Considering you are a soldier, a very important class for destroying sentries, you are completely crippled in the case of destroying sentries. Yes, you can disable them by hitting them with the alternate fire, but let's face it, if an NG just hits it, he's fixed it almost immediately. It doesn't do anything. It's just not, it's like the new tip recorder, it just doesn't do enough anymore. Really, that is a deal breaker for me, because the ability to not be able to just full up destroy a sentry is horrible. It makes it very, very difficult as a soldier to function, and for that reason, I'm not a huge fan. The newest rocket launcher, next rocket launcher on the list is the newest rocket launcher to come out of TF2, which is called the Airstrike. Basically, it is a combo weapon. How it works is, while you're in the air in a rocket jump, you fire rockets an awful lot faster. As well as that, after every time you kill someone, your clip size is increased. When you start off, your clip size is at 3, the same as the Blackbox, which I'll get onto later. But for now, as well as that, there is a minus 25% damage penalty and a minus 15% explosion radius. Now, all of this adds to a far weaker rocket. It is a lot harder to do effective damage on any class, because the minus 15% damage radius and the minus 25% damage penalty really does cause a huge backdrop on this weapon. Even though fire a lot at once because of the way it's set up, even after a few kills, it's still difficult to cause an effective amount of damage. Now, even though this is basically a combo weapon, i.e. was designed to be used with the base jumper, it's still not in my eyes an effective weapon, because you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. If you don't use it, and you use, I don't know, the gunboat like I did as a kind of control for these types of weapons, basically the problem was it was so brief you were in the air that even if you hit like 5, it still didn't do enough on most occasions. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, why not use the base jumper? Well, when you do use the base jumper, you are so open. You are just floating in the air, and you're going to get killed almost immediately. The base jumper is not good to be used with this weapon, because you are just shooting for 20 to 30 damage per shot if they're far away. You are just saying, hey guys, look up here. I'm right up here, and I'm really, really vulnerable, because by then you'd be out of rockets really, really fast, because you fire them so fast. Next thing you know, you're empty on rockets, and you're being shot out of the air by a sniper. It's between a rock and a hard place with this weapon. As a result, I think it's a very, very obsolete weapon, because in its combo, it doesn't work. Without its combo, it kind of works, but you really have to work with it. And other rocket launchers work a lot better and do the job a lot more efficiently. As a result, it's not my favorite rocket launcher, but it certainly has its upsides, and it is a fun weapon to use overall. Saving the simplest and one of my favourite weapons for last, here is the Blackbox. The Blackbox is a very simple weapon for a very straightforward, simple-minded person like myself. Basically, the only drawback it has is it only has 3 ammo in its clip, as in only 3 rockets can be used at a time before you have to reload. Its main upside is that you can kill, but when you hit anybody, you get 15 health back. So, in a very much a conservative soldier type, it is an incredibly effective weapon. Too many times during this recording, I almost die, hit them once, just about managed to survive, because that extra 15 health means a surprising amount in a firefight, or against just one guy, because that small amount of health does make a difference, and it doesn't seem like it, but it does. And for this reason, it's an incredibly powerful and effective weapon, especially if you use it conservatively. But its main drawback does seriously limit you, especially if you're used to the normal rocket launcher. The 3 ammo per clip really does get to me at some points. For example, this may be just me, but whenever I run up and try and kill someone, I always find that I'm out really fast and have to reload and get myself killed almost immediately. For this reason, it's a very touch and go weapon, as in some situations it's far better than all the other rocket launchers, because no other rocket launcher would allow me to survive against a heavy like that. The other side, no rocket launcher would have me reloading so fast. As a result, it's one of my favourite weapons, but I always find I have to use a shotgun to make sure I don't die too fast. But I love the weapon overall. Anyway, what I was trying to say was that every rocket launcher has certain drawbacks and is good in certain situations. For example, the Libyan launcher is very good for being pocketed. The Blackbox is good for if you want a whole all-heal loadout going on, or if you just want to be dicking about a bit with a shotgun. They're all really good. A direct hit's really good for air shotting, as is the Airstrike really good if you just want to fire loads of rockets in succession and sometimes not hit them and hit anything. That's a joke. The Airstrike's fine. Don't jump down my throat. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to say that they all have their own drawbacks, but they're all good in certain situations that I hopefully highlighted in this video. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. If you actually saw it, I'll see you guys next time. If you didn't actually saw it, I won't see you next time. But if you like and subscribe, bye.